Hi everyone, welcome to another color along. I decided to do another page from Fairy Tale by Selina Fenech and I selected Aladdin. First, it would be fun to color a main character, and also Aladdin theme means to use a lot of gold and deep rich colors, so everything I love to use in my colorings and especially in this fairy tale coloring book. For the background, I decided to use neocolors, and I do realize that it will be quite difficult because of the quite thin paper. I already tried to use neocolors when I colored Sleeping Beauty and I needed to color quickly the whole area of the green leaves. It was difficult, but it was satisfactory, not very bad. And here I decided to try using them again. Honestly, I simply can't imagine how I would color all those swirls on the background with colored pencils. I simply don't have enough patience, so I prefer to do the background with neocolors and then all problem areas I will be trying to improve using regular pencils. I think that I also will be using Arteza for the areas of the background simply because I want to save my precious polychromases and Prismacolors, and Arteza are quite good for coloring big areas like backgrounds. And for the main character and for the palace, of course, I will be using Prismacolors. So let's start. Here I started from quite beautiful neocolor royal blue, and as additional colors I decided to use mauve. I color almost in random order. I only try to leave uncolored the smoke which is coming from the lamp, and for the smoke later I will be using paler blue, but only after I will apply water to the darker areas and after I will let it dry. Of course, I protected the rest of my book. I put couple of clean paper sheets under this page because I definitely don't want to mess up the next picture. For applying water, I will be using my quill brush by Jackson's Art. First, it has nice thin tip, so it's easier for me to color around areas of the swirls. And also, because of its synthetic, it's easier for me to control amount of water which I loaded. Paper is quite thin, so I am able to use only moderate amount of water, and brush is of medium hardness, so it doesn't damage paper surface. I try not to move pigment of neocolors excessively. I apply water and with tiny circle movements I uh, wetten the area, and then I go to the next area. After I applied water to the background, I let the page to dry completely. And it's important because if I would start working on the wet surface of the paper, I would ruin the thin paper completely. So I left it to dry, and now I have to say that background looks awful. I definitely need to work on several areas. Somewhere I wasn't quite careful and I have to work on the shape of the objects, especially around the palace, and some areas have quite unattractive white spots. So what I do? I select pencils from my huge stash which have quite close colors, similar or maybe one shade darker. I prefer to use pencils of moderate softness. I don't love to use Prismacolors. I prefer to use color softs or even polychromos sometimes. And this time I also used couple of black widow pencils. So I select colors which can match colors of my Neocolors crayon and I simply work on top of the areas. I cover areas which I am not very happy with, and for me it looks much quicker and gives better result if I would color the whole background with pencils only. If I would color the whole background with pencils, I would also have problems with visible pencil strokes or visible white spots because, as I said, paper isn't great. So it's better to combine mediums. You know that I have a full set of color softs and I don't use them frequently, and this way of using by applying them on top of layer of neon colors or layer of watercolors, it's one of the way of still using them and not to abandon them completely, and I am quite happy with it. For the bottom area of the page, where we have some kind of the desert, I decided to use Arteza. Again, as I said, simply because I don't want to waste Prismacolors or polychromoses simply to cover background areas. Arteza aren't very great for layering, but for covering big areas they are quite good, and it was quite easy to find nice colors which were quite matching to the idea which I had in mind. The part of the desert which is slightly behind will be more yellowish brown. I combined jasmine yellow and raw sienna. But if you want to use Prismacolors, if you don't have Arteza, you can easily use sand or jasmine and light amber. The final result will be almost the same. We simply need couple of colors which, in your imagination, represent desert. The area beneath the main hero on the forefront, I decided to do slightly reddish. And I wanted to try interesting Arteza color which is earth red. It's a little bit similar to the chestnut from Prismacolor set. I decided that in the desert it's quite possible to find some areas with small stones where ground and sand is slightly more reddish, so my choice isn't very unrealistic. To unite both areas, both parts of the desert, I will be also using raw sienna on that area of the ground which is closer to us. And then to add better contrast between those two areas, I deepened shadows using Prismacolor 90% French gray or 70% French grays. As I said, Arteza don't allow to apply many colors. So when I felt that it's impossible to add some darker colors and I still wanted to do more prominent difference between the forefront and the background between two areas of the desert, I switched to Prismacolors, and with softer pencils it was possible to apply another layer and to deeper shadows. In the end of this first part of the color along, I would say that background still looks quite awful. It's far from perfect. Of course, I will be working more on the background, both on the desert area and on the sky and smoke. So it's only a preliminary work and first layer of colors. I will try to mask black lines on the desert, and of course I will improve smoke and sky. So I hope that you will be looking on the second part. And I must confess that yes, it's quite difficult to work on thin paper. On more decent paper, it would be much easier and quicker coloring. But I really love this picture, and I'm sure that by mixing various mediums, in the end I will be able to get quite decent result. So I hope to see you in the next part.